joined by Greg Smith, MP for Mid Bucks.
Pub a day.
Yeah.
A day
That's it.
is closing.
Have you barred Keir is the first question they always ask.
The social hub, the centre, the beating heart,
The meeting point
of place.
Yeah.
Pub is kind of part of that culture, right?
Yeah.
Business rates, I think.
It has as well by 17.5 grand.
There's a joke going, when they nationalised British Steel last year, that at least one of them was getting some experience of running a business now.
Welcome back to the Pub Diary with me, Rowley May. Today I'm joined by Greg Smith, MP for Mid Bucks, a constituency which the Russell Arms is in, so it's important to me. This isn't really going to be about politics, although you are an MP. It's going to be about pubs, the hospitality sector in general, and the pressure they're under locally and nationally, and what the future holds for the pub and hospitality sector. And obviously just try and get into you and how you feel about it. And
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Right, so I think a good place to start is what's your connection to pubs? Are you a regular pub goer? And how important do you think pubs are for communities? And in your area, let's start with that one.
No, look, absolutely. No hiding it. I love pubs. I love a pint. I love going to particularly country pubs. We're lucky enough to represent a very rural constituency. My largest town is Princes Risborough, population just over 8,000. So that tells you a lot about how rural the constituency is. You know, the village I live in, Cheersley, we've got an incredible pub, the Bell. Sharon, the landlady there, really does put on.
So is that a
great show.
Community pub or?
It's a Fuller's Tide pub, but Sharon's very much made it a Cheersley pub. You know, the events she puts on there on the big occasions like the coronation and bank holiday things and so on. People come from all around.
And they support it.
It's an absolutely supported pub, loved pub, the absolute beating heart of that village. Just as the Russell Arms here. I always like coming for a pint here. I always enjoy the warm welcome that you guys give here. But pubs, particularly for rural communities, are more than just somewhere for a pint, or as Al Murray would say, a glass of white wine. They're actually the social hub, the centre, the beating heart,
the meeting point
of place.
Yeah.
So I often talk about my own village pub. Yeah, great beer, great booze, great food, warm welcome, but it's where the community comes together. And that's not just at the big occasions. I mentioned the coronation party the other day. That's important, but actually it's the day-to-day life stuff. It's the place where some folks who would otherwise be on their own gravitate to at 6 p.m. when they open every night. And if they didn't have the pub, I'm not sure they'd have very much at all.
No.
Because it's where they see other people. It's where they socially interact. It's where, they have a couple of pints, but it's a togetherness thing. It's a social fabric thing. And it's all too easy for policymakers in Westminster and for those that want to raise revenue for the Treasury, etc., to look at pubs and simply purely see them as a commercial entity. Now they are not charities. Of course they're a commercial entity. Of course they've got to make a profit. Of course they've got to make a profit. To employ people, to keep the economy afloat, to keep themselves viable. But all those policymakers, those Treasury officials, they completely forget the social fabric point.
And that's that, like you say, that is a pub. We'll come on to why they're so important and why I feel, obviously as a landlord, even more so, they need to be looked after. And so my next question is: are you seeing pubs closing locally to you? And if so, what's the final straw to make them close? And what are landlords and restaurant owners telling you that the challenges they're facing? And what is there going to be any help? Is there any help for these guys who are struggling? I mean, I opened my Instagram on Saturday, and literally the first 3 posts were all local. They weren't pubs actually; they were restaurants that were just closing their doors. And these aren't flash in the pan, been there for 6 months restaurants. These are restaurants that have been in small communities for over 20 years. Great places, make great food, and they used to make a living. Not massively, but they used to be able to live, save some money, go on holiday, and now they're not making anything. So they're just gone. And that's gone. That's chefs out of work, business owners gone, all the local youngsters they would have been employing to work front of house. It's all gone. I think it's so sad, and that's happening everywhere. And I don't understand how we're letting that happen, because it's so important for local communities to get people, and it's how a lot of people have their first jobs, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You know, and like if that industry goes, what happens? Like, I don't know. You know.
It's absolutely heartbreaking to see what's going on. We all know the national statistic: a pub a day.
Yeah,
pub a day is closing. Now, locally, yeah, I've seen pubs close, but I've equally been really happy to see some pubs in the constituency reopen again. Yeah. Often through community buyout. You've got a place like the Old Hundred of Ashenden, just around the corner from me, that's reopened, village buyout as the Ash Tree, and you know that's a really nice place to go. But you know, I think everyone is on a cliff edge at the moment, and I remember talking to landlords and landladies all over the constituency. There was one in Wendover that I was talking to a few months ago who basically said Christmas is make or break. If they don't get the footfall through, and this was a wet pub, there was no food in it. If they don't get the footfall through over the festive period, you know, there's no surprise, it's no secret that you know the big holiday periods, particularly Christmas, are an important time of the year.
December gets you through January
for hospitality. If they didn't get that footfall, then January could well be the time that this pub, I think, has been in the same family for 3 generations.
I know exactly which pub you're talking about.
Could have to close their doors now. Hopefully that hasn't come to pass. But from talking to landlords, landladies, restaurant owners, cafe owners, everyone is in the same place. The whammy of business rates, increased employers' NI, now the Employment Rights Act that just basically tells employers don't take a risk on people. All of these things, you know, and others are colliding in the most violent way on the hospitality sector, and it's just not viable for so many businesses. And when that happens, as you say, real people lose their jobs. That's more people on the unemployment.
And
that's devastation for families, for individuals. Those business owners who've probably risked everything and some, including their own home, on those businesses, suddenly finding themselves in an incredibly difficult and devastating position. Because it's not everyone else's jobs that they've had to issue the P45s for. No. It's their own as well. And again, I just come back to this point that when people pop up and say, oh, well, we've got to raise revenue to pay for this, that, and the other. Yeah, well, if you're trying to raise a percentage of nothing, you've still got nothing if you've driven everyone into the gutter.
And that's what I just can't understand. I can't, you know, that's what I can't get. It's like you're just shooting yourself in the foot because people coming out and spending money is so important to the country, isn't it? And this hospitality and you know, restaurants and pubs is a place, a guarantee where people will spend money if you get it right. And that's kind of what I just don't get.
The pub, particularly. I mean, restaurants, cafes, coffee bars, etc., incredibly important too. The pub is kind of part of our culture, right? It's part of the British psyche that, you know, you've had a hard day at work, you go for a couple of pints at the pub. You want to take the family out on a weekend, well, let's go to the pub. You want to celebrate a birthday or, you know, turning 18 when you're that age. A long time ago, I can just about remember it. The pub. Other cultures don't necessarily have that. They still have drinking cultures, but the pub is actually something quite unique to us.
British thing that, like, you know, if it goes, then everyone will regret it and like think, oh my god, what were we doing? And it's just such a shame. So it's interesting. Obviously, within your constituency, there's loads of rural pubs, but obviously town pubs as well. Do you think there should be any different help for town pubs to rural pubs? Do you think they're all in the same playing field?
I think they're pretty much all in the same boat at the moment. It really doesn't matter whether I'm talking to business owners in Wendover or Princess Risborough compared to Butler's Cross or Chearsley or wherever. Everybody is in the same boat. And it's this absolutely untenable level of taxation and regulation colliding together. So, you know, personally, I think business rates is one of the biggest problems. My party, I mean, I know you don't want to make this particularly political, but my party has basically said we're going to get rid of business rates for pubs, full stop, altogether. And that would be a massive, massive boost, I think. But you've also got to look at the cost of employing people. You've also got to look at things like VAT, the 5% VAT during the pandemic was a massive lifeline
It should never have changed.
to so many businesses.
Yeah.
And I would love us to look.
Well,
to look at what we can do
we're
on
the
that.
highest in Europe, aren't we, on our
Yeah.
VAT costs? Like pretty much the highest. I think Ireland are like a fraction of what from what I understand. And I mean, VAT kills me. Basically, the more successful you are, the more you get punished. And I just
it's perverse. Look, I'm quite straightforward in that I ran my own business for 15, 16 years before I was a Member of Parliament when I was elected in 2019. And I see the pressures small business owners, family business owners face. And there's just this reality, and part of my worldview, one of the things that drives me in politics, is set entrepreneurs free.
Yeah.
Just let people get on and develop their new products or open new pubs and hospitality settings and put on the best beer in Buckinghamshire or the best Sunday lunch in Buckinghamshire or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And then people will come and they'll spend their money, and then, off the back of what I believe should be a modest level of taxation, then the Treasury will get the money it needs to pay for public services. If you keep hammering down, one, people say, why should I bother? Why should I put all of this effort in if all I'm going to take home is the square root of nothing?
Exactly. And people doing it for the love, literally, at the moment.
And then everything sort of falls down like a rack of dominoes from that point. Just set entrepreneurs free. Get rid of the regulation. Get rid of these high tax rates. And people will do great things.
I think at the moment you'll find yourself, people just get themselves in a massive hole because they'll think, it'll be all right, we'll get through this. And then it'll get to the point where their VAT bill will be through the roof, their PAYE will be through the roof, and then they'll be like, "What? I'm done." Like,
energy bills,
exactly.
everything. Yeah.
And I think that's the problem at the moment. It's just like people are like holding on to the hope that something's going to change. And I mean, I really hope something changes. But I mean, I'm very much at the moment keeping a very, very close eye on where I'm at because I don't want to get to that stage where I'm suddenly in this ball of debt, and I'm not there at the moment. But I mean, my last VAT bill was insane.
I bet it was.
And it's just. I mean, I was a bit naive when I'm not afraid to admit it. I've spoken to it when I took this business on. I had no idea there was no VAT on fresh food that we brought in. I mean, I come from a background of making signs. It's that's simple. You buy stuff in, it's got VAT on it. You put your markup on it, you flog it, it's got VAT on it, and then if you've had a good month, you'll have a VAT bill. But at least you've got stuff to knock off the other VAT. But in this, this makes no sense. You get a potato in, you roast it, you flog it. 20% of it goes to the government.
Yeah.
It's like, and then people don't understand. Well, how can you charge 18 quid for a burger? I don't want to charge 18 quid for a burger.
But that's what it costs.
But how, if you split that burger down into costs. What are you making off an 18 quid burger?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things that tax is not as transparent as it should be in this country.
No.
I often think that when you go to America and you get your till receipt, if you've been to the shop and bought something, it lists out all the different taxes on certainly local taxes versus federal taxes, etc. And in this country, I mean, you see it in so many areas. You go to the pumps, you go and get petrol or diesel, and you come away, 80 quid lighter, or whatever it might be, not realising about 70 quid of that has gone to the government. That's not Shell and BP and Esso and Harvest and all these people pocketing 80 quid for that fuel. Most of it they've had to hand over straight back to the government. It's the same with a pint.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what. It differs by whether you've got a tie or whatever. But
people do every so often. You'll see a pint glass cut down into.
I think the average is that most landlords and landladies make about 14p on a pint.
Exactly.
So people come away complaining that they've just paid 5, 6, 7 quid, probably more in London, for a pint in their local. But actually, when you break that down and think, but the landlord's only had 14p out of that.
Yeah, exactly. You've got so a lot of pints.
That suddenly shines a light on how brutal and punishing our tax regime is.
Yeah, and I mean, you asked me, I don't know if I'm not going to speak for every landlord. If you ask me, do I want to sell pints for £6? Absolutely not. Would I rather sell a pint for £4. I mean, it used to be £2 when I used to
Hey,
go.
I had £2 when I was, yeah.
I remember when Lowenbrow went to £2 in the Eagle in Old Hampshire. Everyone was up in arms. Like, oh my god! And now, like literally, our cheapest pint is £6.50. You know, and we sell Hawkston. I think Hawkston's gone up to £6.90 now, but. Yeah, the price we pay buy that in. If we were to charge that, if we were to like try and make the same margin on everything, I think Hawkston have to be £9.
Yeah.
And like, no, there are places in London that sell Hawkston for £9.
And probably and the rest, and more.
Yeah, I know. And like, you kind of got to be sensible about where you go with it. But where do you get to the point where, like you say, 14p? If you want to start trying to make 20p, you've probably got to put it up by another 50p or something. All of a sudden, I don't think we're probably if it carries on going, we're probably a year or 2 years away from a £10 pint. And I mean, who's going to go out when you could buy supermarket? You could just.
Well, I mean, look, this is a huge challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
The differential between supermarket, big discounts, buy 12 cans for 12 quid, in some of them. I saw that offer on when I was in supermarket over the weekend, and of course there's a place for having a couple of cans in the fridge at home, but actually we need to have a system in this country that doesn't trample on people's freedom to choose whether they drink at home or in the pub, but that does actively promote the social value
of going out,
having
a drink,
meeting other people, and not just sitting on the sofa in your pants drinking a can of lager. That's that. It's not something that I think should or needs to be encouraged in this country. We need to push people.
One of mine, because I was kind of like moving on to national questions there actually. So, and actually one of them is: are pubs competing on a fair playing field with supermarkets when it comes to alcohol pricing and tax?
I mean, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I want to see people go to the pub.
Yeah.
I want to see people here at the Russell Arms and the pubs all over Mid Bucks and all over the country, but you equally don't want to punish people for having having a couple of bottles of wine or a few cans of beer or a bottle of gin or whatever it might be.
I get that, and I'm a realist. I know how much it costs to eat out
at home
and drink out.
Because some nights you do go home and think, I need a drink, but it's 9 p.m. on a Tuesday night by the time we got home or whatever. Going back out again isn't realistic.
And driving as well, of course.
And of course, the driving point, which is incredibly important. Of course, the government are looking at reducing
I saw that.
blood alcohol limits.
But again, people kind of up and down that. But I mean, I don't have a problem with that, really. I just
look, nobody wants to see anyone drink and drive. We all know the consequences of drink driving. However, the question is this a move just to have a headline? Or is there a scientific evidence base that says that limit needs to be reduced? Because Scotland did it a while ago, actually. And I'm led to believe, I haven't seen the raw numbers, but I'm led to believe it has made virtually no difference. Therefore, why do it if there isn't scientific evidence?
Particularly if you've got a precedent where it makes no difference.
Base underneath it. So, I do think that we do have to look at measures that encourage people to go to the pub, to go out, to support their local. But that's got to be, it's got to be fair. It can't punish people for wanting things at home too.
No, I kind of agree, and like you say, there should be a space for both, but the differential between prices is pretty crazy.
Yeah, but of course, when you're drinking at home, you don't have the overheads of, another roof. Bar staff, cleaning staff,
exactly that.
Chefs, sous chefs, everything that goes along with running a business.
All of it that goes into it, exactly. Right, what's next? A lot of people think pubs are doing okay because of the price of pints and food. As a landlord, I see the profit margins and know the extra costs we're going to incur. So that basically it's not true. What help do you think we need? Is there any help you think we could get to help that profit margin?
Well, yes. I mean, we've talked about it before. Tax is too high. Tax in this country is too high. There is no getting away from that, and it's only getting worse with the last two budgets we've had under this government. Business rates, I think, is one of the cleanest ways governments could just get out of the way. Just relieve tens of thousands of pounds, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds on the bigger premises.
So have they backtracked on that?
Every year. So it's all a bit of a grey area. So let's remember where we started. When this government came into office in July 2024, by their first budget, they had changed business rate relief, so it got materially worse. The amount of business rate relief that pubs and high street businesses and retailers were getting got materially worse. But they tried to advertise that as keeping business rates relief. Then in the more recent budget, it got even worse again. And there's been some speculation in the press and some U-turning. There's been quite a lot of U-turns. It's hard to keep up with them at the moment. It looks like there have been some U-turns that try and claw a little bit of that back, but it's nothing like where they started in July 24, and it's nothing like what my side are saying, which is, okay, we recognise it, we get it. Business rates are a particular problem, not the only problem, but a particular problem for hospitality, retail, and so we'll just get rid of them altogether.
I mean, there seems to be a massive discrepancy. I don't know how it's worked out. But I mean, personally, ours has gone up by 17.5 grand, which, if that stays like it is, that's just 17.5 grand gone. But I mean, I saw Tom Kerridge on a news channel last week. He reckons his has gone up by over 100%. I don't know whether that's because he's in Marlow, and I don't know if it's
probably to do with the square footage of the premises.
Possibly, yeah. But then I've heard some people it's gone down. But
in one or two cases, a quirk of the system may well have resulted that. I don't know of anyone around here whose business rates bill has gone down. I'm not saying there isn't anyone. I've not come across anyone.
I think mine's gone up by about 25-30%. So
I mean that's just punishing, isn't it?
Yeah.
20. Let's just unpack that a minute. 25-30%. Well, most years, you look at food and you look at even the council tax. I mean, that probably peaks out at still quite a hard 5% increase. 25-30% increase on something year on year. That is not sustainable or manageable in anyone's book. Just imagine, everyone at home where the price of a supermarket shop's gone up, the price of an electricity bill has gone up, or gas if you're on a gas grid, or oil, as a lot of homes are around here, myself included, off the gas grid, oil and LPG and things like that was all going up year on year. But just imagine if it was going up 30% year on year, and your pay's going up a couple of percent if you're lucky.
Exactly.
It's not sustainable.
That's it. It's not comparable, is it? To you can't put your price up. You're not profit margin on that. You're basically not. I'm not making 17.5 grand more this year than I did last year. To just be able to say, it doesn't matter to me. That's
it does matter.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
17.5 grand is the best part of a full-time member of staff behind the bar.
Yeah, it's a huge amount of money to suddenly just have to find out of nowhere. And I don't know if I'm going to have it. I'm sure as hell. There must be loads of other pubs who are exactly the same, thinking that might be the decision that makes them just hand the keys back and say, it's like
can't do it.
Can't do it. Or just don't want. Or just
that's
why
heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
It is. It's just and that's like I say, I see it every time I open my phone. And it's just like I hate it. I think it's awful.
And then you've got this absolutely preposterous concoction of dry January just to rub it in a little bit, bit further.
Dry January is interesting actually, because I haven't seen much of it this year. The advertising on it seems to be down. I think it's just because more people just don't drink anymore. So there's no massive hit of have a month off. It's people drink or don't drink, and there's so many good zeros out there now that it's not like you have to go out and find it. I mean, we've had one on draft since we opened.
Okay.
We've got plenty in the fridges. And like I say, I think it's not difficult to find, is it really now, zeros?
No, the no and low stuff is much more available. Sometimes if I'm out and driving, I'll gravitate to the 0%. Quite like the zero Guinness. I think that actually tastes like the real thing.
Apparently so, yeah. I'll be perfectly honest, I've never tried a zero in my life.
No.
I'd rather have a Coke.
I'm more with you, but a couple of occasions I thought, all right, I'll have the zero equivalent.
Yeah.
Probably just makes me want to have what everyone else is having more, but
that's kind of why I don't. Just like I say, I'd rather just have a Coke or something else. But it's dry January is interesting. I mean, landlords get very upset about dry January, but like I say, to be honest, zeros you charge the same for a zero as you charge for an alcoholic pint, so there's not really much equivalent anymore. But I think it's just whether people just stay at home, I suppose. But obviously, I didn't notice it last year, and I haven't noticed a drop off this
Well, that's
year.
good. That's good. I mean, I think a few places do.
Yeah.
Probably the entirely wet let clubs.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Yeah.
I notice it a lot more. But I've always thought, January is the most miserable month of the year. Why make it more miserable?
I literally couldn't agree more. It's terrible, isn't it? It's depressing enough as it is without being able to have a drink. I did a couple. I always do a couple of weeks, just a kind of a little bit of a detox after Christmas. But after that, keep going. What's the one thing landlords maybe underestimate about the pressures on government and the decisions they're making? Is there something we should be thinking? Oh, well, maybe we don't understand something.
Yeah, I get the question, but I am going to turn it round.
Okay.
Because my worldview, my politics, if you like, is that government is there to serve landlords and to serve everyone else in this country. It's not for landlords or anyone in this country to suddenly feel sorry for government or to think, what can they do for government? That's the wrong way round. Government is meant to exist to to set laws and rules, because if we didn't have laws and rules, we'd be in some sort of anarchy, but to exist to make people's lives easier and to exist to ensure that people that want to start a business or run a business can do so as freely as possible within a safe parameter, in terms of not just selling moonshine or something, but delivering what they want to deliver to their customer base within a free market economy. And so I'd really push back on this concept of what a landlord's not getting. Well, what landlords are not getting is a good sympathetic ear from their national government, who is getting in the way of them doing what they want to do rather than being helpful.
So we probably spoke about it. What do you think is it they don't get then? What is it? Why do they think it's okay? Why do they think? How can they not see the issue? Or is it just about getting money to? I don't know whether it's like the shortfall from COVID to get some money back in. Why this industry in particular, which is already under pressure from minimum wage going up, like you say, the duty on booze is going up in April, isn't it? And the margins are only getting smaller. It's not like people. There's not like there's millionaire landlords that need to be taxed and let's have some of their money. There's plenty of other people.
For sure. I think it's multifaceted. I don't think there's one single answer to that question. There is an elephant in the room that of the current government, very few of them. We're talking about the actual people who take on these roles and the government backbenchers, the Labour MPs in the House of Commons. Very, very few of them have ever actually run a business. Have ever actually had to make payroll. Have ever actually had to fill in a VAT return. Have ever actually had to balance the books. Now, that's not.
So is that just like they don't understand the costs involved in the small business?
Absolutely, yeah. What they see is through this, let's say, a lens of ignorance. They see that £7 pint. Or they see that 20 quid bottle of wine that they know is on the supermarket shelf for £8. And they think that that's all money that you're coining in. And
so are they genuinely that? So MPs, elected MPs, are genuinely that short-sighted that that's what they think?
I fear some of them, because they don't have that practical, real-world experience of having run a business. They've had. Oh, it's totally concerning. It frightens me. And I'm an opposition MP. I'm not a government MP. I was in the last Parliament, but I'm an opposition MP now. So I am looking across a political party that is in government that comes from a very different place to most of the colleagues on my side of the house. That's not to say they had bad jobs. They just didn't get experience before politics of running something. There's a joke going that when they nationalised British Steel last year, that at least one of them was getting some experience of running a business now. And you jest about that, but it's also a harsh reality. The politics and the House of Commons is meant to represent the country. And if you have on the government side people that have never really experienced what you do day to day, what every other business owner does day to day, well, it's not a surprise if when it comes to making decisions on tax and VAT and Actually, we haven't really touched on it much. The new employment law regulations that the Employment Rights Act brings along, then they make decisions through a lens of ignorance.
But if they're that kind of detached from like the realities of the world, how do they deal with people when they go back to their constituents and have their surgeries and talk to people? I mean, I find that so frustrating. If I was like, because are they actually listening to people, or are they just like playing lip service to it?
You've got to hope that they do. And I think for a
this
lot,
is going off on a bit of a tangent.
for a lot of constituency MPs, of course they listen. It doesn't matter what part of it. They're not completely stupid. If they sit down with a constituent, be that a business owner or someone struggling with the NHS or whatever it might be, of course they listen. But unfortunately, certainly for the current government, they go back and they try and have a conversation with the Chancellor or the Exchequer Secretary or the Financial Secretary to the Treasury, and they just get the party line pushed back at them. And sometimes in politics, you've got to break loose of that and make a fuss. And thankfully, we saw it with the farmers. Thankfully, one or two of them were willing to push over the edge on the family farm tax, and we got a little bit of a partial U-turn where they upped the level that family farm tax would kick in for farmers. What we haven't seen yet is enough of them really kick off on behalf of their pubs.
No, which is interesting. I mean, I've had a few phone calls like from news outlets and newspapers saying, "Have you barred Keir Starmer?" Is the first question they always ask, and are you joining this movement to bar? Actually, it's all MPs. Actually,
that's Labour MPs.
Is it just Labour MPs? That's what they keep saying, and I was like, well, no. At the moment, I kind of don't want to get involved because because I had so much backlash the last time. I don't really want to get involved, but I also understand that within social media, I'm quite a high profile landlord. So I do feel like I want to do something to highlight, which is kind of what this whole podcast is about really, is trying to highlight stuff and to get it out there. So stuff that some people might not understand how the inner workings of like finances of like how a pub works. Because again, I think people see £7 a pint, oh my God, you must be pocketing £5 of that.
14p.
It's lovely, wouldn't it?
It would be lovely. It'd be great. I love entrepreneurs. I love people who actually create growth in this country and create a real thing, be that a pub or a product or whatever it might be. I want people to be successful. I want people to make money.
Yeah.
But when the government is getting in the way of even vaguely getting near making money, well, we're not going to have a functioning economy.
No. And like I say, it's like we've said, pubs are just such an important, and restaurants are such an important part of them. So go back to kind of like our local area. What would Bucks look like if village pubs disappeared? And they are disappearing, aren't they? Like some are going.
I fear so. It would be a very different place.
I mean, this pub only went in 2012.
Absolutely,
which is why it's a community pub now.
If you think about it, for a lot of the villages I'm lucky enough to represent, often the only commercial entity in that village, other than the farms, is the pub. Yeah. Some are lucky enough to still have a shop.
Yeah.
But for many, it is the pub, and it's that everything we talked about earlier. It's that focal point for a village. The big events are put on. We just come out of the other side of Christmas. The village carol singing night, or the weekly different pubs do different things. The good old fashioned pub quiz, or bingo nights, or things like that bring people together as a community, as a village, as a rural setting, and you see the different waves of people come through.
Because the event might not be at the pub,
absolutely,
but after the event.
And often if you've got something at the church, certainly back home in Cheersley, everyone flocked to the pub after the 9 carols service at Christmas. You always pop to the pub. I quite like going in on a Sunday afternoon. The kids are a certain age where we do largely have to be all back at home for their bedtime. But at the weekend, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, it's a great time to go down, support the pub, either have Sunday lunch or a couple of pints in the afternoon, and get the kids their J2O fix, and it's just a nice thing to do. And you see your neighbours, you know, kids being the age they are, there are other kids in the village of similar age. Certainly in the summer, our village pub has a great beer garden with some play equipment and ride-ons and things like that. You know, the kids in the village just play together.
And taking your kids to the pub is only helping for that. You know, if they've got those memories of like they used to go to the that's what you want, isn't it?
Absolutely, of course.
You need to kind of like keep those generations going, because I think that's another thing I think kind of feels like it's like might be dying. You know, you kind of want to keep the pub tradition going.
I agree. I mean, I don't know what it's like here, but certainly at the Bell, you do see a lot of that. I'm sure they're all 18, 19, 20-year-olds, you know, congregating, you know, Friday night, Saturday night, which is great. It's fantastic to see that they are, because certainly the drinks industry is a little bit worried about that generation not drinking at all.
Well, I mean, 100%. There's definitely a culture shift. I think, like, you know, there's definitely less. From when I was 18, it was all about
drinking,
getting down the
Me
pub,
too.
having a beer. You know, it was like you finish work on a Friday. Friday was like straight to the pub.
Absolutely.
Leave the pub on Sunday, go back to work on Monday. But I mean, it's definitely different now. I mean, my lads enjoy the pub, which is great. They enjoy coming here because they don't pay for it. they don't help.
That's different. That is a different problem and one I can't help you with.
But I mean, they're always in Wendover in the pubs. They love it. They love the pub, which is great. I mean, I love the fact that they love the pub. And, you know, we try and every Sunday we try and go to a pub and have a Sunday roast, like support other pubs. And you know, I've always loved them. But yeah, it is interesting that I'm not surprised drinks companies are starting to panic a little bit. Like, definitely.
Yeah, but we've got to keep, as you say, we've got to keep the culture. Even if they're not drinking a pint of Chiltern or a pint of XT or Vale or other brands are available, if they are having a zero or even an orange juice, I don't really care. But supporting the entity that is the pub. Yeah,
and yeah, like sports pubs are great for that generation as well. Getting them into like watch the TV. I mean, that's a different story about the cost of Sky and tea. Getting those into your pubs is a totally different.
I agree with you, and actually that's something we didn't really touch on earlier in the value of pubs, and that is actually live sport.
Yeah.
Because actually I saw something, it's not just sport anymore. I saw something flick up on social media the other day of a pub that's putting the traitors on.
Oh, really?
To try and get people in on weeknights. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about that, but certainly live sport. I really like going to the pub to watch things like the Six Nations.
Well, we have that because anything terrestrial.
You can show, but that's few and far between.
Yeah, it is now. Really
and I do get the cost of Sky and BT Sport. Is it still or TNT?
TNT, yeah.
That they're huge expense for pubs, but equally, if you've got a big England game or whatever it might be, whatever sport. It just, again, brings people together, and it brings a community together around a common a common point, supporting England or Wales or Scotland, in the Six Nations, depending on where you originally were brought up. It's actually quite a healthy thing to do. I actually really like. It's few and far between you find a pub that will do it, but you know, my big thing, the thing that I love watching and the sport that I am pretty fanatical about is Formula One and motorsport.
Yeah. And
you know, there is something about being in a pub to watch the race and everyone else's reaction around you. It's not just you at home on the sofa, which you pretty much have to do for the 4 a.m.ers in Australia and so on. But it brings that spirit of commonality.
Yeah, but also it can, it's a lucrative time. Like I say, it's the World Cup this summer. For some pubs who are geared up for it, that's as big as Christmas. You get 4. If they have a good run, you get 3. You probably get six England games.
Absolutely, you get that's good bar takings, right?
Yeah, exactly that. And that could get you through the horrible September and October that we sometimes tend to have. But this is what I'm finding. Like, you actually know I'm new to this, and like each year we try and be better.
Yeah, but you're doing a great job.
Well, it's just that this year it's all about trying to get as many events on as possible. Like that to take advantage of. Obviously Valentine's we do, but like obviously Mother's Day do, but like all the bank holidays trying to get something on to get something different to get people through the door, and try and make the most out of those days to just try and take as much money as possible. But obviously to do something to make people come, you can't. Yeah, we would be busy on August Bank Holiday anyway because it's August Bank Holiday. But if you could do something else, that it's just like you can be busier. Yeah, you can always be busier. So I think kind of trying to stand still and like sit and just assume people are going to come. I mean, I was saying to the guys, like, you know, anyone that walks through that door, you've just got to treat them like they're gold dust. Doesn't matter who they are, but they have chosen to walk through that door and spend their money here. You know, they know how expensive a pub is. They know how expensive pub food is, and you know, when they're here, you just got to kind of give them everything you got to try and, because you don't know if they're going to come back through the door again. Exactly. You want them coming back through. They might only come once a month or once every 2 months, but that's amazing that they've chosen to do that. And like, you know, that's kind of where everyone's got to be. And I'm sure that, I mean, I don't want to patronise. I'm sure everyone is working as hard as everyone's working. You know, so, but it is tough.
Yeah.
If you could change one thing to help pubs, what would it be?
Business rates.
Business rates, straight off. What? Scrap them?
Get rid of them.
Get rid of them. Sounds good. Sounds good to me. So this would be the last one then, I suppose. If you could say one thing directly to pub landlords, what would it be?
Keep going. You're national heroes. Yeah, you're entrepreneurs. You're trying to grow the economy, employ people. But you're keeping a British cultural icon alive. The great British pub. More important than ever, I would argue, to rural communities that have seen devastation economically, and potentially that's only going to get worse under this government. I want to find a way, starting with business rates, to better support our pubs and to give you confidence that there is a long-term future for pubs and the Great British Pint here in the United Kingdom.
Sounds good to me. Well, thanks very much for coming on.
Pleasure.
I've really
Good to see
enjoyed
you.
it. Really
Take
good
care.
to see you. Yeah, thanks very much.